Welcome, children. Happy Wednesday. Like I said yesterday, today's story I'm so excited to read to you because I think it's a great story. And today's story is the story of Heidi. Now, we are going to learn all about our new friend Heidi, but before we even jump into it, I want to tell you a little bit about Heidi and why I think today's story is so cool. So, Heidi's story is actually pretty sad. She is an orphan, meaning she did not have her parents. It seems like maybe her parents have passed away. We don't know what happened, but she did not grow up with her dad or her mom. Yeah. Now, she did grow up with her aunt, but as we find out in the story, it doesn't seem like her aunt is really nice. And yet, despite having such a sad upbringing, Heidi chooses to do what is loving and what is caring for the people around her. Let's find out. The story of Heidi. Alright. Lots of pictures, lots of words. We'll get to it bit by bit. The wind whistled and sang. It blew in great gusts at Heidi and her aunt as they battled their way up the mountain. Up and up they went to a world above the clouds. So they are hiking so high up there, higher than even the clouds. At last they came to a small hut, perched on the top of the mountain, way up over there. A fierce old man opened the door. Who is that? Meet your granddaughter, said Heidi's aunt. I have brought her to live with you. But I don't want her. Isn't that sad? The aunt did not want Heidi, and it sounds like at first Grandpa didn't want Heidi either, but Heidi has done nothing wrong so far. I've looked after Heidi since her parents died. Now it's your turn, her aunt declared. And with that, she ran back down the mountain. So Heidi is wanted by no one. She is just left there. What is she going to do? Well, you'd better come in, said Grandfather gruffly. You'll have to find your own place to sleep, though. What's up the ladder? Asked Heidi. Grandfather didn't reply. He didn't say anything. He didn't say, yes, she can go up, but he also didn't say she cannot go up. So Heidi did just that. Heidi climbed into a hayloft. There she made a sweet-smelling bed out of hay. The next morning, Heidi woke to the sound of bells. Sunlight poured in through the window. And it looks like Grandpa is peeking through too. He's like, what is she doing up there? She ran outside onto the dewy wet grass where a boy was whistling. This is Peter, the goat boy, said Grandfather. Do you want to come up the mountain with me? Peter asked. I'm taking the goats to find fresh grass. So he's kind of like a shepherd boy. And Heidi went out with Peter and the goats every day. In the evenings, Grandfather fed her creamy goat's milk, crusty bread, and melted cheese. Read me a story, pleaded Heidi. So, every night, Grandfather read her a story by the fire. Now, it looks like Heidi's grandpa, starting to want Heidi too. Remember, initially he said, but I don't want her. But now they're hanging out. But then, this is a sad part. Heidi had never been happier with Grandpa until one morning her aunt came back Remember the aunt? The mean aunt who dropped her off against her will. I have found a job for Heidi, she announced. I'm taking her to town. Poor grandfather, cried Heidi. He'll be all alone. Now, boys and girls, I want to just pause real quick. Now, imagine Heidi. She did not grow up with her parents. Remember, she's an orphan. And then she got meanly dropped off by her aunt with her grandpa. And now the mean aunt came back to take her away from her grandpa. But the first thing she thought of was not, oh no, poor me, what am I going to do? I'm going to have such a bad time. No, the first thing that she thought of was, poor grandfather, he'll be all alone. This tells us so much about Heidi, because Heidi is not someone that thinks about herself all the time. Whenever something happens, she thinks about what is in the best interest of others right away. And in this case, is the grandpa that she loves. What is going to happen to grandpa? That's what she cares about, not herself. He likes it that way, said her aunt. And her aunt did not care that grandpa is going to be alone. He doesn't, thought Heidi. One day, I'll come back to him. So Heidi, against her will, is now being dragged back to town. Heidi's aunt took her to a grand house. There she had to look after a sick little girl called Clara. I am so weak, I can hardly walk, said Clara. You would soon get well in the mountains, Heidi replied. Again, she is thinking about what is good for others, not herself. The town was full of jostling people. Stale smells filled the streets. Heidi longed for her hayloft, for the jingling bells of the goats, for stories by the fire. So she definitely misses the mountains with Grandpa. And then something happened. At night, Heidi sleepwalked. Now let's pause, girls and boys. So the word sleepwalk meaning somebody who is asleep, they're not awake, but they walked around while they're asleep. Yeah, some people actually do that. She wandered the house in her white nightgown. She does not even know it because she is asleep, even though she's walking. That girl needs to go home, Clara's father decided, because he is worried about Heidi's safety. Can you imagine walking around when you're actually asleep? You could be bumping into something or maybe tripping and get hurt. A week later, grandfather saw a strange procession coming up the mountain. Heidi, you have come back to me! Grandpa is so excited. Alright. Clara wanted to come too, Heidi explained. Can she stay until she's well again? Of course, said grandfather. We'll help her get better. Clara drank fresh goat's milk every morning and sat outside in the sunshine. And every day she walked a little more. So Grandpa is helping Clara to get better too, not just Heidi. And Clara's father, I can't believe it, said Clara's father when he came for her. Is this really my daughter? How can I ever thank you? Clara walking. Remember, Clara couldn't walk. She was so weak. When Clara and her father had gone, Heidi and grandfather went outside to watch the sunset. You're home now, said grandfather. I'll never let you go again. And that, girls and boys, is the end. And we see Heidi getting to be in her hayloft again. Now, The story does have a good ending, doesn't it? But I cannot stress so much. I cannot stress enough that Heidi's story teaches us so much. Although her life is so hard, she did not grow up with her parents and she has a really mean aunt. And initially, not only does her aunt not want her, grandpa didn't even want her at first. But still, she never lost her kind and loving spirit. She's always thinking about what is good for others, not what is good for herself. And I hope that we can also leave today with this story in mind and living more like Heidi, always thinking about what is good for the people I love and what is in the best interest of all those around us. All right, I hope you like today's story, and let's come back tomorrow and I'll have a new story for you. Have a good day. Bye.